we go. So I'm going to add, I guess, okay, so I'm going to add 7x to both sides. Add 7x and subtract 3. So I get, what do I get? Negative x equals 2. Divide by negative 1. X equals negative 2. What kind of equation? Conditional. Thank you. That's how I spell it. Beautiful. Okay, and then number two, right, I'm going to distribute, and I get 3x minus 5 equals 3x minus 6 plus 4. So 3x minus 5 equals 3x minus 2. Subtract the 3x. Add the 5. And I get 0 equals 3. Oop, doesn't equal 3. So what is that one? Contradiction. Okay, there we go. Awesome. And then these ones just combine like terms, right? Simplify. So I'm going to distribute the negative, and I get 4t minus 3t plus 1. So t plus 1. Did I do it wrong? I think that one's right. Okay, and this one I'm going to start on the very inside, so I'm going to distribute the negative first. So I get 8x minus 2 times x plus x. Oh no, that's a minus x. Wow. Minus x plus 3 gives me 8x minus 2x plus 2x minus 6, which is going to be 8x minus 6. Questions? Everyone okay with that? Okay, beautiful. So today we're going to talk about grades. Wow, graphs. Thank you. Yeah, graphs. That's what we're talking about today. So our first vocabulary word is quadrant. I should fix that. And it's any of the 4 areas made when we divide up a plane by xy axis as shown. They're usually numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4. So in case you don't remember, the first quadrant is the one that's all positives, and then it goes counterclockwise. So 2, 3, and 4. Okay? So the only thing we're going to do is we're going to name which quadrant the points fall in. 2. So which quadrant is negative 18 positive? Oh, positive 0.16 is in quadrant 2 because I go back. And I go negative, which is back, and then positive, which is up. So that's quadrant number, make sure I have a pin. Quadrant number 2. What about 2 negative? So negative 6, negative 20 would be in quadrant what? 3. Beautiful. And positive 14, negative 125. 4. Okay. There's only 4 quadrants. And positive 125, negative 147. 4. Great. Okay. Okay. Go ahead and just take a few seconds. So now we're going to determine whether an ordered pair is a solution to an equation. So I want to know if 1 negative 4 is a solution to 2u minus v equals negative 6. Okay? So how do I do that? Does anyone have any ideas on what I would do?
You would plug it in.
I would plug it in. Great. So how do I know which one is u and which one is v?
The u is the x, v is the y, just because x are normally with numbers and y's don't have numbers. I don't know.
How about x comes before y alphabetically and u comes before v alphabetically, right? So it's whichever letter comes first alphabetically is first. Okay? So since I have u and v, right? When I do my little alphabet song, U comes before V, right? So U would be my first one in my parentheses in my ordered pair, and V would be my second one. Does that make sense? So in this case, this is U, and this one is V. So now I'm just going to plug it in and see if it's a solution or not. So how I do that is I'm going to do 2 times U, which is 1, minus a negative 4, which is V, should equal negative 6. So it's 2 times 1, and then minus a negative 4 is what? Plus 4, beautiful, equals negative 6. And 2 plus 4 is? 6. Does 6 equal negative 6? No. So not a solution. That's it. And since it says I have to determine whether it's a solution, I actually have to state whether it's a solution or not. All right, so number 2, which one's R and which one's S? Good. So this one's R and this one is? I know, it's a challenge on if you know your alphabet or not. Okay, so I've got negative 2 squared minus a negative 1 equals 5. So what's negative 2 squared? 4. And minus a minus 1? Plus 1 equals 5. And 4 plus 1 is? So solution. That's it. Not too bad so far?
Wait.
Go ahead.
Isn't the 4 supposed to be a negative 4 because...
What's a negative times a negative? I'm going to record this. When you use your calculator, if you just input it this way, negative 2 squared, the square's only going to touch what it, the square's only going to affect what it touches. And what is it touching here?
2.
The 2. So basically you put in your calculator 2 squared. Okay. And it's supposed to be negative 2 squared. So if you're going to use your calculator to square stuff, make sure we go negative 2 squared. All of you guys know a negative times a negative is a positive, right? So, but when you put it in your calculator and it tells you it's negative, you're like, oh, that's got to be right. But it's not, because it has to be in parentheses. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so you guys are going to do, I don't know how many there are. Oh, there's 4. A, B, C, and D. Okay, so I'm going to plug in, oh, this is X and this is Y. So I've got negative 1 equals 3 times 2 minus 7. 6 minus 7. Solution. 3 times 5 minus 5 equals 5. Oh, wow. 10 equals 5. Not a solution. And then C, we've got R and S. So negative 3 squared minus 4 equals 5. 9 minus 4 equals 5. Solution. And then the last one's a little harder, right? Because it has a fraction in there. So I've got 6 times 2/3 plus 8 times 0 equals 4. So 6 times 2 is 12/3 plus 0 equals 4. So 4 equals 4. Solution. Okay, any questions? Everyone okay? Great, you guys are awesome. Okay. All right, so now we're going to graph. We have 3 different types of graphs we're going to graph today. And the first one, we're going to do them all by hand, basically, okay? The first one is just a line. How do I graph a straight line? Does anyone remember? Talia. The slope, right? So I'm going to find the slope and my y-intercept. So what is the slope of this line? 4 over 1. Great. And what's my y-intercept? 3. Who does not know those? Everyone okay with finding those? The slope and the y-intercept, right? So it's y equals mx plus b, right?
I always forget, is it the top that goes across, or is it
So it's rise, so slope equals rise over run. So the top goes up and down, the bottom goes side to side. So I'm going to stop at 3, I'm going to stop at 3, and then I'm going to go up 4. I can't go up 4 on this graph because there's not enough room. So I can go down and back. I can do them both negative. So I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and back 1, and I'm going to attempt, I almost drew a straight line. And there's my line. Okay? Okay, what's the slope on my second line? Negative 3 over 2. Nice, George. And what's my y-intercept? Negative 2. Great. So now I'm going to start at negative 2, right? And I'm going to go down 3 and forward 2. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Or I can go up 3 and back 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
Thank you.
And again, hey, it's only been umpteen years since I almost can draw a straight line. Hi, Ann. Okay. And then the last one on this one. Oh, you guys were supposed to do that because I can read my letters really well. So you do B by yourself. Go. I'm not paying attention to my numbers on my page. You're already done, Gage. Good job. Done. Good. Good job, Pa. You made Gage draw it, though.
There's a straight line right
There, yeah, exactly.
here.
That's still not even straight.
I, you two are going to be very entertaining.
Don't say that. Don't jinx it. One day we're just gonna go dead silent.
Well, there's going to be some days where you're really tired.
I was so tired today. I got home from work around 12 o'clock, and then couldn't fall asleep. And then when I finally could sleep,
Your alarm went off.
yeah.
Been there, done that.
It was amazing.
It was amazing. Okay, since you only had one to do, my slope is -5/4, and my y-intercept is 5. So I'm going to be here, down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, yep, nope, wrong direction. Down 5, forward 4. Jeez, Campbell. Okay. So, oops. Definitely not a straight line. Huh?
That's the wrong point.
It's down 5 and forward 4. That is not the wrong
Oh.
point.
Sorry, I keep looking at the. I don't know why. I have an issue today. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I did do the wrong point the first time when I went down 5 and back 4. Okay. So the next one we're going to graph is absolute value.
I never understand the reason
For absolute value?
Yeah.
What? It just means you can't have a negative. Right. Okay.
Can I get one of the packets?
Right there, sweetheart.
Okay.
So, I'm just going to graph it using a thingy. A thingy. That was really good, right? A table. Okay? And just pick values for x. How do I pick values for x? Just pick them. It doesn't matter what value you use. You should probably choose a value that's on your graph, though. If I choose x equals 100, am I going to be able to graph it? No, because my graph only goes from -6 to +6. So I'm not going to be able to graph if I choose 100 as x, right? So if I'm going to choose values for x, I'm going to choose a value that's on my graph. So I can graph it. Does that make sense? So you can choose whichever values you want as long as you get the shape. Who knows what the shape of an absolute value graph looks like? It's not curved. It's a line, and then the absolute value means that there's no negative, so what happens to it? It doesn't curve. It V's. It's a V. Okay, so it's a straight line that V's. Okay? So it can, I want to say this, it can go negative because if I have like this second one, we'll talk about, oh, well, it's going to happen in the first one. Good. Whew. Okay, so I'm going to choose some values. Let's choose, and I always choose the same ones usually, like -1. I always choose the easiest ones, which are -1, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Okay, those are the easiest ones to choose because those are the easy ones usually to do math with, right? So, and then if I have to add some more, add 1 or 2 more, it's pretty easy. And then I'm just going to plug that value into x, which you guys have been doing already, right? Previously. What's the absolute value of -2? 2. Minus 2. 0. Good. Absolute value of -1. Minus 2. Good. Absolute value of 0. Minus 2. -2. Absolute value of 1. 1. Minus 2. Absolute value of 2. Minus 2. 0. And then I'm going to plot my points. So 0, -2, 0. And it makes a V.
Wait, isn't -2 minus 2 minus 4?
-2. No, absolute value of -2 is what? +2. So remember, it's absolute value. Absolute value means the distance from 0. So how far is -2 from 0? 2. Distance can't be negative. You guys drive, right? So if I drive backwards, does my odometer go backwards? No, because distance is always positive.
Depends on the age of the car.
That's a myth. It doesn't go backwards.
If it's going backwards, you got a problem.
Yeah, it doesn't go backwards. Distance is always positive, okay? So it will always go forward. Even if you drive backwards, your odometer is going to go forward because it's measuring distance, okay? So does that help a little bit with that? Okay. So now you guys do A and B. Go. And I'm going to pause it because I haven't done that. I think you're good on mostly on A, right? I'm sorry, on A. Okay, so same thing, right? I'm just going to do it quickly because I'm not going to ask you. I'm just going to do it, right? So this should be -1, -2, -3, -2, -1.
If you did -3, it would be 0, right?
Correct. That is very correct.
What about +3?
+3 should also be 0. Okay? And then let's talk about this one. I'm going to pick some values, and I'm going to pick the same values because those are the values I pick. So if I pick -2, what's -2 plus 2?
0.
And the absolute value of 0 is 0, right? And then -1 plus 2 is +1. Absolute value of 1 is 1. 0 plus 2 is 2. And absolute value of 2 is 2. 1 plus 2 is? Absolute value of 3 is? 2 plus 2 is?
4.
Absolute value of 4 is? Now notice I don't have a V yet. So -2, 0. -1, 1. So So I'm right there so far. I don't have a v yet. So I need to choose some more values. So I'm going to choose -3. Because I'm pretty sure it's not going to go down. How do I know if a graph opens up or down? You guys do know. Think about a quadratic. A quadratic, how do I know if it opens up or down? When it's negative in front. So if there was a negative in front of this, then it would open downwards, right? But it's not a negative, so I know it's going to open upwards. So I don't want to go more positive on a number I'm going to choose. I'm going to go more negative. Okay? So -3 plus 2 is? Absolute value of -1 is 1. So -3, 1. And once I have that turning point, do I really need to choose any more? No. Okay? Still have a slope of 1. I just want to point that out because there's no number with my x. It's just x, right? So my slope is with the x. There's still no slope with the x. There's just a 1. That +2 slides it this way. Just like with a quadratic, if it's inside the parenthesis, it slides left and right. If it's outside the parenthesis, it slides it up and down. That's the point I think you were trying to get to. Does that make sense, Paul? Okay. Lovely, you guys. Okay, did turn on. Speaking of quadratics, again, we're not going to go over the rules because we're going to do quadratics later, right? I'm just going to do it with a table, right? Pick and choose. It's the easiest way to graph if you don't know the rules, right? So quick and easy. I know you guys hate choosing values. Oh, that should be a -1, -2. Okay, so -2 squared. Don't put it in your calculator. Just tell me what -2 squared is.
4.
Times 2. -1 squared. 1. -1 times -1 is not 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 0 squared.
0.
Times 2. 1 squared. Times 2. 2. 2 squared. Times 2. 8. -2, 8. It's somewhere up here, right? -2, 8. -1, 2, 0, 0, 1, 2, 2, somewhere up here, -8. And a quadratic is what shape?
V.
No, U. It's a U shape. This one has a curve to it. Good. Absolute value is a V. This one is, I'm going to try and make it curved. Curvy-ish. Okay? Okay, your turn. Okay. So who can tell me where A is? What does A look like? Did anyone get A done? No? Do you need more time? Okay. Okay. You guys can go ahead and do that while I'm going to go do this. Got to be able to tell the difference between them. Your V doesn't look like your U.
Oh, just wait till I'm in a rush. Luckily, everything will be on Delta right now.
Don't the values get pretty big on these?
They can get really big.
That's why you gotta use -1.
Is this our last page?
Yes.
That's all for today?
Well, yeah, then homework. Okay, so we're going to go -3, 0, -4, 1. It's 4. Okay, -2 and 1, and 4, -3 and 0. Okay, so there is our two graphs. Beautiful. Okay. So I want to point out what the bottom of the page says. Remember, it's always a U shape. So I want to point out what the bottom of the page here says. There's assignment, of course. But then it says right here, checkpoint. Your first checkpoint is next class period. Over 1.1 and 1.2.
Is that what we just learned today?
Yes.